Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. We're at 9 o'clock, and so we're going to get started on time, and we'll also be looking forward to closing on time. This is the last face-to-face before the annual meeting, so we'll be talking a little bit, hopefully, about some of the things that will be going on at the annual meeting and in advance of that. I see a few candidates out here, so I'd like to recognize, as we usually do, the staff that's here, the board members that are here, and then we'll recognize the candidates as well. And right now, who we have here from staff is Gary Peters, who is the manager of the golf park, or the golf course, Lake Monterey. Raise your hand, Gary. So that's Gary. Next to him is Don Van Duzelaar, who is the chairman of our board. And next to him is Jenny Hager, who is the treasurer of our board. So those are the folks that are from the board and on staff at this time. We have some board candidates here, so I'm just going to give Brian the mic, and you can just pass it to the next one that you see that's a board candidate, and go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name is Brian Elling, and I'm running for the board this year, and I've met a lot of you in the room already, but I've been passing around my information, posting it on the forums if you're part of that, and available for questions over the next week as you continue to analyze which candidates you're looking to vote for. So I would welcome your vote, welcome a chance to have conversations with you. I don't know how much you want us to go on the mic, because I can talk for a long time, Gene, but I'll pass the mic to Ellen here. But again, Brian Elling, and it's a privilege to be here today.
After a minute, we start charging.
Hi, I'm Ellen Carpenter, and I'm running for board. And I think I've met a lot of you, but again, like Brian, I'm available for questions. I'll be around right after this and most of next week. Just want you to get out there and vote, and hopefully we'll have a really good board next year, and we'll keep moving on in the right direction.
Thank you, Ellen. By the way, while I've got both mics in my hand, don't forget to sign up for the goodies, and the certificates are brought to us by Wayland Hardware this week, and we appreciate their support. Appreciate any support that you would give them with any hardware needs if you can't find it here at Sandy Pines. Also, sign up. There's 5. We're going to be giving out $5 certificates for the ice cream shop. So please put your names in there. It's not one per membership. So feel free to have your spouse put in theirs too.
Good morning. I'm Maury Gabriels, and I too am looking forward to hopefully be elected to the board. I'm all excited about doing the job for you people. My ears are always open, and I welcome each one of you. My cookie deal still stands. Got a refrigerator full of them, so come on over and get one of those, and let's chat about what this park needs to keep its integrity and just keep it the place that it is. It's a beautiful place, and I'm excited, and I just hope that you will elect me, and I ask for your vote, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Maury. I will say that he brought in a whole platter full of cookies this week as samples, and they are good. So.
I am Dan Tenopin from K367, and I also am running for board. I would appreciate any votes. And I unfortunately have to work every day, so that's a little bit more difficult for the middle of the week things for me, but I should be out here all day yet today, doing a little bit of the flea market right after this, and I appreciate any support or any votes of yours, but the main thing is to actually vote and actually get out there and participate, because participation matters on where you want the park to go. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan. Anybody got any questions, comments, concerns now that you've met the staff, the board, and the board candidates? Anything? All right. This is how we started last week. We did fill up 2 hours, I will say, but not last week, but last month. One thing that I have, oh, yeah, go.
Are you asking for questions and concerns we just walked in, so we missed the beginning.
Okay.
Regarding what just happened, or any questions and concerns in general?
Questions or concerns in general, yeah.
Okay, I'm really concerned and upset about the cat situation. I mean, the lack of cat situation.
Okay.
I have been in this park for 30 years and have never had mice before. And now I have a ton of mice. I'm sure everybody can hear me.
Well, it's not getting on the video, so
Oh, okay.
you should be able to just hold it up to your mouth. It should work.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. As I said, I've been here 30 years and never had mice before. And now it's a real problem. And I am seriously concerned about what's going to happen over the winter. I live 3 hours away. I don't have the luxury of coming up here every weekend or every few weeks to check on the place. You know, I still work, and it's a long drive. I am worried what's going to happen. That, you know, like that they're going to overtake the trailer already now when there's people in there. They're in there. So I just would like to know what is happening with this and why this is happening. I mean, I know why it's happening because we don't have cats around to get the mice. But what can we do about this situation? I know I'm not the only one. All of my neighbors have the same issue.
Well, as you know, what has been done is that the board has voted to pass a rule that you cannot feed feral cats. That's not to say you can't have a cat. If you have problems, you can buy a cat and you can keep it in your trailer. That's being, I'm not being facetious, I'm being honest, but.
It sounds like you are.
No, I'm not, I'm not.
Allergies like me to cats.
Well,
I cannot have a cat.
I'm going back over what happened. I don't see that rule changing. So I don't see, when you don't feed cats, they go away. So that's probably what's happened. What I see, personally, is I hear more birds. I see small squirrels and bunnies running around that we didn't see before. So what we're seeing is,
Mice and rats running around?
I have the same, I know that there's some issues with a few folks that have contacted me, but I have the same mouse poison in my barn that I've had there for 6 years. So I don't have the problem, don't know why, but never really had cats around to begin with. So I can't tell you why one person has it and another one doesn't. But
How come after 30 years, this is what's frustrating me, is that now my happy place has become a place that I almost dread coming to on the weekends for what I'm going to find. I'm finding evidence of the chewing and shavings all over.
oh, we all hate mice. There's no doubt.
Well, I never had this before. This is what I'm saying, and neither did any of my neighbors and other people that I spoke to, and it's very concerning to me. I have traps. I have whatever you're supposed to, you know, traps
Yeah.
and poison.
Yeah.
It doesn't always help. They still get in. They're smart. They don't eat. They don't get trapped in the traps.
I can just tell you what's been done and where we are. I can't tell you what's going to happen in the future. I don't have that control. So I would say that to mitigate the problem, you're going to have to continue to work with resources that you have and do the best you can with it. And until something could change, I don't have an answer for that. I only tell you what I did, what happened. Yep.
So if we do get more feral cats in the neighborhood, can we feed them?
No. No, the rule is you can't feed cats. Can't feed feral cats.
Then we're not going to have feral cats.
That's right. That's right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Gene, there's a gentleman, I'm not sure what lot he is, he owns a company in Holland, Michigan called Shoreline Pest Control. I had him out this week, and I used to have him in my business. The USDA Department of Agriculture recommended him, one of the better ones. They set little boxes around your trailer, and there are named mice. They're in there and they're gone in a split second. And then they come back every 2 weeks and put your clean box down. And
What's the name of the place? 'Cause I
Sure.
called an exterminator who I can't get to call me back.
Okay. I have his number back at my place there, but I used him for 20-some years in my business, and it's called Shoreline Pest Control. They're out of Holland, Michigan, and I forget what lot number he has here. Yeah, you can pick him up online too. It's called Shoreline, and he was out. Is he? I didn't even look it up if he is authorized, but
Sounds familiar,
I
but
can-
yeah, it's possible. Does he? Okay.
I can attest to him over the past 30 years. I've used him, and
We got a home remedy that works for
so
us.
that's just a little bit for your information, ma'am.
All
I just
right. All right. Go ahead. Good point, Maury. Thank you.
Let me share a home remedy that we use, and we never have mice, never. Take a little cotton ball, put a little peppermint oil in it, and set that around your trailer in a couple of places. Mice hate that, so if they smell it, they won't come back. Secondly, we put mothballs underneath our trailer.
So do we, but I
And
don't
there-
do that when I'm living in the trailer.
No,
because the smell is not good, and it's
Yeah.
not good for you.
Yeah, we don't have them though.
Yeah, but mothballs, I'm saying, I don't want.
Yeah.
I do that in the wintertime, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that in the summer. when I'm
Right,
there.
right, okay.
This is more trouble it's worth. Yeah. Dryer sheets, for some reason, we put dryer sheets around in our trailer, and they do not like that at all. So, it smells good too, so.
Well, we're getting some good ideas for remedies, I guess. So, with respect to the contractor, ma'am, you can stop at the office, or I think online too. There's a list of the contractors, and Shoreline evidently. All right, so that might be a way you can get his number. Not sure if that's the one you've been calling, but anyway. Okay. Yes. Where did we go? Here we go.
Okay, I just want to know about a rumor that I heard, and I want to know whether it's true or not.
Okay.
Something about that they were working on privatizing the Rangers so that they can carry guns somewhere to get around with the vote that we voted down at this point. Is that any truth into that?
Yes. Yeah. There is, and it's not because it was voted down, and it's not about guns. It's a secondary issue to guns, and we're just beginning to research it. It's a program authorized by the state. It's called PA 330, and it gives. We have, if you looked, or you'll see it in the next footprints, we had 159 incidents last month. We have what has been termed an incident report schedule similar to that of this city the size of Lowell. So what happens is our response, and I'm going to be blatantly blunt here, our response from the state and the county has been less than acceptable with respect to potentially dangerous situations, felonious situations. We're having, before we do any of this, we're having conversation with both state and county. So there's nothing planned, but it's an option that we're looking at. So
Is that something that would be voted upon, us
No.
members again?
No.
Before guns,
No.
or no?
No.
Would they have guns, or do you know?
That's a separate issue. That hasn't been decided. So
Okay.
thanks. Anything else? Actually, not only that hasn't been decided, and nothing on that whole thing's been decided. So, but I'm going to be open with you when you ask me a question. I'm not going to avoid it.
No, I want to know if it was a rumor, if it was any...
No, it could be a rumor, but because if it is a rumor, it's caused by someone inside of a committee that's said something out of turn, because it's only been in committee, only been with the executive committee of the board at this point. So, other than that,
Conversation be brought up among the members?
when we know more.
Oh.
Okay, anything else? Got a cookie? Got your name in? You know, Andy, no, go ahead, Sheila. Andy's I was going to say it, Dee, you heard it. Yeah, it's all right.
No, I don't have
Okay,
No.
Gene, I seen this leaf sucky thing that sucks up leaves. You know, when you, instead of bagging them, any
Okay.
chance Sandy Pines can get one?
That's a good point. We looked at, I think a couple of years ago, we saw one, a used one from a county that was, or a city that was gonna get rid of it. If we can find one that's reasonably priced, yeah, I think we'll probably get one. Because there's some people that bring their leaves up to the road edge.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and it
That's
would
what
be
it is,
easier
when you
just
suck
to
it
have
up,
once a
Yeah.
week or something come through and suck
Yeah.
those up. Yep, be a good idea.
Okay, yeah, I posted one, a lot of people were like, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm
So I
sure.
was just wondering what.
Good- it's a good
Did they-
idea.
Did they used to have one here years ago, or did some, I couldn't remember. It
No,
seems like-
there's a member here, I believe, in Phase 1
Okay.
who has a machine that goes around and
provides
does
the
it,
service,
yeah.
Okay, anybody else?
What else you got?
Okay, more, okay. I tried to write, and I can't even read my own writing, isn't that terrible? Okay, how's the phase 2 pool coming?
Phase 2 pool is gonna be on hold. Unfortunately, when we promoted the passing of the 10-year budget, we had a number in there for that Phase 2 pool. This past week, we found out that number is deficient, so by quite a lot. So that's been on hold, but I believe that, and it's only been put on hold because we need to stick as close to that 10-year as we told the membership we would. In other words, it wasn't going to be a fund where we could build a lot of new amenities. It was to keep, the intent was to keep up the amenities we have, and then repair and replace those, and then to take, I think there was out of the $12 million, there was around $1 million that was put in for new things, and that pool was one of those. I think docks were another one, and I don't remember what all of them were, but anyway, when the price came in on this, and part of this is, I think it was somewhat overbuilt, so we're going to go back and look at that, how it was spec'd. And the other part of it is that this is just an extremely busy time for construction, and the prices are up. But we had anticipated the pool and the surrounding requirements, like a restroom, yep. two rooms, and then a storage room, concrete around it, fence around it, hookups, those kind of things, to be in the 220 to 250 range, and they came in at closer to 500. So now I appreciate you bringing that up. So now what's the next priority? Well, one of the reasons we were looking at that was because there's a void of water pools in the water. The second reason we looked at it was for safety, to stop people from being required to cross over from Phase 6 to Phase 3. So now the next priority toward mitigating some of that risk is that we are going into, we're meeting with the county road commission, the township supervisor, and a contractor, and some park staff next week to look at putting a tunnel underneath from 6 to 3.
That was my next question.
Okay, yeah, that's in the works.
Where would that be?
Well, that's one of the questions why we're all coming out here to look at, well, where would you go in it, where would you come out? So I'm not sure where that's going to be, but be in that same, probably in that same path that we take now to get over there and come back, so
okay.
Somewhere in that range. In that same vein, we're moving forward with trying to get 136 paved, and it doesn't appear as though Monterey Township is going to be a willing partner. That said, Salem Township seems to be very willing, so Salem will be here. The road commission will be here, so we'll talk about both of those issues at this time. So that's a pretty good priority for us for the future. Another thing we've done, and that has been ordered, is and that was through the road commission as well, is striping across there. Of course, if we put there'd be a solar-powered flashing sign, golf cart crossing, and then a crossing painted stripes. Of course, if the tunnel goes underneath there, then we're going to put that over here by the condos, and then there will be one going across to the store. Yeah, so we have two sets, but where they're going to be placed, where one of them is going to be placed is a
When
little.
is that meeting again with them? Is that this year yet?
It's next
Okay.
week. I don't remember what day it is, but it's next week sometime. So good questions. Yes, Nancy. Oh, let me get you a mic.
She's sitting next to Mike.
He's quick.
My concern involves the population at the splash park. The other day, we were told that people were coming in because their husband worked for Comcast, and they had a card to get in. And the whole family was there, and her neighbor and 3 children were there. Do those Comcast employees have access at any time?
Well, the story, we've had the same issue come up 3 years in a row.
Okay.
3 years in a row we've looked into it, and 3 years in a row it's proved to be false. So they're first of all, it's Charter, not Comcast, but that's neither here nor there. But we know when they come into the park. So then we can match that up with the calls that have been made for us to get a hold of Charter and ask them to come in to fix something. So
Yeah.
we know when they come in. We don't know when they go out, but we know when they come in. So I would say that if it happens, that we need to have a name to confirm it. But at this point, it's all been conjecture and accusation. So, and it's been, like I said, it's the same story 3 times.
Right.
It's a lady and 3 kids, and Charter is very concerned with it because we brought it to them twice.
Right.
And-
Okay, one other kind of similar issue is there are 2 different white 15-passenger vans that regularly come in. 8 or 9 kids get out. They are associate members, and they run a daycare. So we are babysitting the children they're paid to take care of, and they come regularly.
First of all, whether they're an associate member or not, if they come in, they need to have approval to come in from Nikki, and they also will pay $100 a bus load. So, and we don't want them in here certain times of the day or year. So, we wouldn't bring them in on a weekend. We wouldn't bring them in on a holiday. But we have been known to do that in the past. I'm not familiar with the specifics of what you're
Yeah,
exactly
I
talking
just know
about.
the van has an
Yeah.
A sticker on it, and
Yeah.
everybody piles out. But
It's a 15-passenger or it's a
it
bus?
is a 15-passenger
Yeah,
van.
yeah, those pay $50.
But I think we need to start doing these. And
Mm-hmm.
this is what a lot of our Florida parks use. This is what the kids get when they pass their swim test. But have a different color. If you're a member, you wear your bracelet when
Mm-hmm.
you go to the pool, and you know that you're there legitimately. You haven't walked in
Mm-hmm.
from the outside. You didn't pile out of a van. It's so easy.
Yep, and Nancy's whole premise here of having a pool that's overcrowded and probably misused is a legitimate concern. And I know that safety and security has looked at the bans. Dennis isn't here today, but I think that we've looked at the bans of different colors for different times of the day, because we have other issues in the pool as well that I think are caused by staying too long and not paying attention to the time of the day. So there's the whole issue with bans might take on some other meaning by next season. So
Well, I think that would solve it fairly simply. And then
Yeah.
just one other thing about that.
Sure.
There's been so many accidents in the family pool.
that's the other thing I was referring
But
to.
part of the problem is and we're there with grandkids, we know.
Mm-hmm.
But when there's an accident, they need to also shut down for that 10 minutes the splash park as well, because I watch those kids. They climb out of the family pool, they run over
to where the buckets are dumping, and they play there for 10 minutes, and they run and jump back in the pool again. They don't go use the bathroom, because there's other stuff to do. That's fun.
Yeah, we met last week to try and find ways to mitigate that whole situation, and we've got a four-part plan that will be announced this week.
Okay.
And it will be, we're going to try and do it from level 1 before we go to level 2. But the last level is not going to be a level that many people are going to be enjoying.
But I think, you know, close down that other player, because they run from one to the other and then back again.
Yep, I understand. Okay, thanks, Nancy. Yep. Oh, here we got one over here. All right.
We've had several people ask about the last 4th of July fireworks.
Yeah.
And whether anyone was hurt, because we seen like an explosion over there, and then it was all cut short. Was there a problem there?
None that I was made aware of. No.
Normally the fireworks like 45 minutes. I think it was 20 minutes this time. So.
Oh no,
But it looked like an explosion.
Oh yeah, yeah. The last part looked like there was and I think there was an accelerant used, obviously, but
okay.
no.
No one was hurt.
Oh, that's good. Sure. Anything else? Don't know. I'm saying I'm gonna say chlorine. So yeah. Any of the staff or board Gary, you want to say anything about the golf course for this year? What's been going on? We had a lot of dry weather, then we had some good weather, and what's been happening with your watering and all that?
One of the issues we had this spring, we had a lot of rain, and there was 2 intakes in the river, and the river went from 28 feet to 6 foot wide after one storm, so our intake was plugged. So we had to put a new intake in, and that was like a week worth of excavation, just getting it done, and plus it's kind of a gray area with the DNR and DEQ, what you can do in the river. Then we had a well go down for almost 6 weeks, a pump. So what we're doing this year with the revenue I've generated, we're going to put one well in, which will allow us to always have water 24/7, even if the river gets flooded. So with the dry spell that we had, and almost 5 weeks of no rain, I had about 30% water capacity, so I could keep the greens and tees alive. Stuff is recovering very well. You know, revenue's up again this year. It could have been up even more, but with all the rainy weekends we had, last year was a phenomenal year for weather. So this year, even though we're up over last year, we had a lot of rainy weekends, and that's when I make most of my money, obviously. So karaoke, we switched to Saturdays. We're going to go next year with Saturdays. We did buffets in the past. For the amount of effort we put into it, the labor and what we get back in revenue, it's just not profitable. But I have found out by not doing that, I'm getting a lot more people coming at about 7 o'clock, taking up the tables, and it's actually generating more money. So that's a nice thing. Clothing's up a little bit. You know, overall, I took a lot of trees out. It was a newsletter. The back nine's more playable. It's a little more fair. More people are playing it. But overall, the golf course is up. It's been a really tough year. We had every course in the state has had some issues with disease. Our course is not something we blanket spray, just for curative reasons. We treat the greens, obviously. The rest of the turf we treat when we need to save money. And this we had back in the second week of July, we had Pythium, which is probably the only disease we get that will kill grass overnight. So we had some thinning on some of the tees and stuff, but they're coming back now. So overall, things are really good at the golf course.
Thanks, Gary. Anybody got any questions for the golf course?
That's what happened to the tee box? Yes.
Thanks. We got a question back there. Thanks, Justin. Yeah. Yeah, we had a number of candidates that applied for that position, and I had some really good help with the interviews on that, and it came down to two guys, and obviously Gary got the position, but one of his biggest qualities was the guy knows how to grow grass, and he knows how to he knows what to do to make it grow, and he knows what a course should be like. And at the time, the course needed to go to another level, and Gary filled that bill. What we didn't realize that we do now is that he's also a good manager of financial and as well as physical applications. There's a lot of mornings you'll see Gary out there at 6 o'clock spraying down the greens or working in some fashion physically rather than standing back and just pointing a finger and asking for it to be done. So Gary's done a great job. We've paid down, since he's been here, I believe we've paid down about $200,000 on one of the notes that the golf course has to the park. So I think we're down to about $150,000 on that, and I believe we'll probably be able to, according to the look of the cash on hand, and at this time, we'll probably be able to knock down another 50 this year. We're hoping to. Although he needs two wells that are going to be about $75,000 a piece to replace the river pump for long-term stability. One will probably be within the next 6 months, Gary, and then another one probably within the next 2 or 3 years. So he's done a great job, and I appreciate you mentioning it, Jess. Thank you. So what else is new that I can tell you about? Yesterday, I received the price from Charter on our video package, which is our TV, for the next 3 to 5 years. I say 3 to 5. They're offering a 3-year, but 3 years goes by so fast, and I'd like to see if we can make it a 5-year. But if we go as is, the way it's been presented to us, we will. There would be a few changes. We'd be getting what they call a deluxe package and a sports bundle, and we would gain 77 new channels, and we would lose 17. So a net gain of 60 channels over what we have currently. It will still be a 12-month contract. In other words, we pay, Sandy Pines makes a payment every month. But the way it appears as though we are going to be able to do that for about 50 cents a month more than the old package. So that was a sigh of relief. I see Joel put his thumb up, but I did the same thing yesterday, Joel, when I looked at it. So we're going to be, the budget that's been proposed to the board, or being proposed to the board, that's already gone to the Finance Committee, we added something to it just because we didn't know what was going to happen. So I fully expected that we would have to go back to the Finance Committee and the board, or especially the board, and say, we have to revise this because this was not enough. Well, it turns out we were at $129 for the last 5 years. Prior to that, I think it started out, when the vote went through, on my understanding, it started out at $89. And within that contract, that 5-year contract, Charter had the ability to raise prices annually by up to 10%. This last contract we had, they had the ability to raise the prices by 3% over the term of the contract. They didn't raise it at all. So consequently, our pricing was flat for 5 years. This time around, we will be looking at $136 about 50 cents a month more. So we're getting 170 some channels delivered for around 12 or just under $12 a month. So I think that's it's pretty amazing. The other thing that will come with this is that at this point we don't have a channel guide. This next program will have a channel guide within it that will scroll through the channels, tell you what's on at what time. It's not going to be interactive yet, so you won't be able to click on it and go to that channel. But nonetheless, it will have a guide on it. So those are a couple of changes that we have. That it's an improvement in some ways, but I'm really pleased with the price stability. You know, I think it's none of us get cable at home for that kind of price. I don't think so. It's pretty cool. Yes. I'm sorry? No, we don't lose Fox Sports either. So if you're a Detroit Tiger fan, you're good. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's okay.
Andy Anderson, D5. Question on the tower that we have, which is Verizon. Is there any chance that other, like AT&T and all those, will subscribe to that so that we can get something other than Verizon?
And Verizon, yeah.
My wife complains every time because she has AT&T and she can't text, she can't do anything.
Yeah.
And I have Verizon, but that's a different story.
Yes, as your answer to the question, if you didn't hear his question, he's wondering if there's any other providers that are going to be on the tower. And I was informed probably June that there was negotiations going on between the developer and AT&T. Last week, no, probably 2 weeks ago now, I got an email from him that they were working through the legal part with AT&T, and on the lease that we have with them, they have Sandy Pines listed as Sandy Pines RV Park, but the official corporate name is Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails, Inc. So I had to provide them a copy of the original incorporation papers. So it's ongoing. Originally they said that they would be up in August, but there's no equipment there yet. So I would say that by next year there'll be at least one more provider on it. So yeah, sure.
Have you received any changes for the internet plan?
No, I'm still holding my breath on that one. But the video portion of the contracts is encouraging to me that I'm hopeful we don't see what they indicated to us this spring, which was $59 a month and $99 to install each one, and then a 12-month contract. That was a shocker. That's way from where we are. So we're hopeful that we'll see something similar to what we did with the video. They've merged with Time Warner, and so the folks that we're dealing with locally in Michigan here, pretty much all went away, and now we're dealing with folks from Ohio. They didn't know Sandy Pines from Ottawa Beach, so we encouraged them on a number of occasions during conference calls to come out, and they finally came out about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and they were very impressed. The park is impressive if you've never seen it before, right? So this was a bigger project than they had envisioned, and and I think we got their attention. So other than that, they've been reasonably good folks to work with, but it's typical large corporations that you need to go up a number of levels before you get an answer to a question. So, but good question. Thank you. I got something in my throat. Anyway, anybody else? Yes.
In your budgetary plan,
I got to give you this because otherwise it won't be on video. You're a star now, so you should just be able to talk.
I don't want to be a star. In your budgetary considerations, I understand the Phase 2 pool is put on hold. Which has higher priority, a new indoor pool or an outdoor pool? Because this is a beautiful park without question, but it's seriously under pool, whatever the...
There's a voided pool space.
There, yeah, there you go, much better.
Yeah. What's the priority? The indoor pool is a board decision. That's not something that's coming out of operations, and that would take a vote to do it because it would take an assessment to build it. That being said, is there a need for it? That, almost every one of these meetings this year, someone has brought it up, and I think that there is a need for it. I think that it's been on the ballot twice and was turned down twice, and everybody has a reason for it. But I mean, is that any reason for not voting for it worth where you are today? Because it would have been on the budget. That being said, the Phase 2 pool was a priority, and I mentioned it a while ago. For those who didn't hear it, the price came in too high at this point to justify it. That many funds to that project, based on what we had promised the folks at the park, if they voted on the capital reserve. So that's not ever going to be done, but not at that price at this time. So the next priority was, one of the reasons for doing it was the safety of allowing a safer passage between Phase 6 and Phase 3, because a lot of our swimming lessons are in Phase 3. So crossing the road was an issue. So now what we're doing, we're taking the funds that we had anticipated for the Phase 2 pool, and we're looking at putting an underground tunnel to Phase 3. Way. Okay, that's you.
That does not make sense, I'm sorry.
Well, it does to a lot of people, but that's your opinion.
It is my opinion. How many bids did you get?
We aren't even there yet. We're just beginning to.
For the Phase 2 pool, how many bids did you get?
2. But again, as what we said earlier was, my opinion, the specs were overbuilt. So we're looking at doing that, but you're not going to cut it in half. Let's put it that way, and that's what we needed to do. But the bids were spec'd, I believe, too heavy. In other words, there was the building and the surrounding areas that were spec'd in the quote were probably, in my opinion, much higher quality than what we needed. We want to get a pool over there. There's a voided pool space, and that's a great area to have it. And I believe we're going to get it there. It just isn't going to be next year.
May I know what the bids were?
No, because we haven't awarded anything yet. So I'm not. I'm sorry. The number was around $500,000. So. We have a lot of issues to deal with financially too. So, what's that? Okay, all right. No, you don't have to shut up. That's why we're here. I mean, you can.
In regards to that Phase 2 pool, I'm probably not going to make any fans here, but is there a way we can just have a one-time payment? We're only about $125 per membership short to go ahead and build that. Is there any way we can get that on a ballot to vote on?
It could
I mean, rather than a long-term assessment or something, if it's, like I said, just math in my head says we're about $125 short per membership.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right.
And then we could keep that project on moving forward.
Yeah, it's too late for this year, and
is it really?
Yeah. Well, you can't put a ballot up but it has to be approved by the board by June, right? By the June meeting. So we couldn't put a ballot up for it this year. That being said, if you watch our operational financial situation, we've been in the plus in operational reserves for the last 5 years, and that's on course again this year. So we're using those. We're keeping some of those operational reserves, like keeping our powder dry with some of these things, but with some of them, we're using them for capital improvement. Last year, 2 years ago, the board approved a transfer of $1.1 million in cash reserves over to fund the project in phase 3, which in the course of the way Sandy Pines has done business for 46 years, that project was $2.1 million. Every membership would have had a 10-year assessment of $100 a year. This time it was zero. We had the cash. We're going to use our own cash wherever we can, but we have to not only use cash as we have it, but we have to use it with priority. So those are the criteria for going forward with the pool. Right now, as she mentioned and others have mentioned, the pool there is a void of pool space, but is it a priority? I think there's what we're saying, or what I'm trying to say is that there's other priorities other than the pool for the finances. To get those out of the way. If you remember the capital reserve campaign we had, the first 4 or 5 years were really heavy in over expenses. We take in $800,000 a year. We're spending, $1.3 million to $1.5 million for the first 5 years. So we're using more money than what we have or have available to us through a line of credit. So we're using that line of credit or our cash to keep that as level as we can. That's what we're holding on to some cash for. Once those high priority items are done, which are on the front end of that 10-year project, then I think it will be possible to recapture some of that revenue reserve on an annual basis that this pool will go in less than the 10-year period. But right now, like I said earlier, tried to explain earlier, is that there were 2 reasons we did it. One was a void, one was a safety issue. And so when the ability to do it, to cure both of those at the same time, or at least mitigate some of it, we went to the safety issue. So does that answer your question? Yep, thanks. Joel?
I think you made a good point earlier. I mean, right now construction everywhere is booming throughout the country. And there is a bit of responsibility on the parks part here to make sure that we are paying a fair price for what's going in as well. And I do know that there are contractors out here in the greater Grand Rapids area that are literally just throwing double the numbers at things because they're so booked up. They're hoping not to get to work, So maybe making a little bit longer term plan will cut that price down significantly.
So what you're saying, we could go with the same specs, but it will be less money later on. That's right. Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. Jess, you're in construction. No.
Just want to know about the FEMA grant, where that's at right now, and another big question is if we go ahead with that, which I feel that we probably are, where is that all that money coming from, our share?
Good question. Where we're at is they're still asking us questions, which means the application is still alive. That being said, we thought we would hear up or down by now, and we haven't. So, but FEMA, as you well know, gets called to other areas of the country for different reasons, whether it's the fires in in California or volcanoes, eruptions in Hawaii. So their human resources get spread out different areas, and so they'll pick up something and they'll drop it again and they'll come back. So we think that's what's happening, but not sure. But anyway, we believe that by the questions that they're asking, that it's coming to a head soon, that we'll be able to know whether they're going to approve this or not. And if it does, then my next step would be to go to the board and say, this is what we got, this is our opportunity, or this is our challenge. So, and then I have to present a plan on how we fund it. Once we get an approval, we have 3 years to do that, to build it. At this point, we have a good jump start on the cash we would need to do it. Let me premise the whole thing here by saying my goal would be to do it without an assessment, just like we did phase 3. Do it with cash on our side and take the money from FEMA as we did before. That project really went smooth, and it would be great if we did get that again. But I won't lie that there's be some challenges that of doing it without an assessment. But if it had to have an assessment, I would probably go to the board and advise them not to do it. And it's hard to turn down that much money. But if we can't do it with cash, I don't really want to be responsible for any more assessments or requesting more assessments. So does that answer your question? Yep. Yeah. Okay. Good. Thanks, Sheila. Yep.
The $200 assessment, I'm brand new, so that started last year and goes for what, 10 years?
Yes.
What were the things that were covered, are going to be covered by that, or what were the big ticket items?
Yeah. You can either contact our office or it might even be online. Is it online? Do you know? There's a 10-year budget that was proposed. It's not exactly how it's going to be spent, but it's the highlights of what was going to be spent on each for the 10 year. Help me out here, anybody. What were the big items on the 10-year budget that were? She's wondering what the money's going to be spent on. Yeah, yep, that was one. Yeah, a new roof on this building. No, that's already in. New pump, yeah, new vehicles are replaced. Yep, upgrading. Actually, we did 12 last year. We did 11 last year. We'll do 12 this year. So it's mainly repair and replacement of existing structures, building infrastructure, that kind of thing. So no. Part of the repair. Some repairs are that, but if it extends the useful life of an item, then it's capital. But to answer your original question, there's information that shows what was. Yeah, you can, if you don't see it online, give a call to the office to Kimberly. She can supply you with a copy of it. It changes every year, but because each year there's different priorities. I wouldn't tell you what we're going to need 10 years from now. I can give you an idea of what by each manager can give you an idea how long their items will last and when they may have to replace them. But the actual budget is done each year. So that will be coming out shortly. In fact, that went to the Finance Committee this past Thursday, and it will go to the board next week. So then, yes, that was 150, but yes, that goes for 10 years. And I think we're in the 4th year of that, 3rd or 4th year. We're going on 4 next year. So
You said something that just kind of sparked something in my head. Do we put the depreciation values on equipment throughout the park?
Yes, you'll see a depreciation line on the budget.
Do you do it by individual pieces of equipment or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then it's in the compiled report, it'll all show up on one line item, but it's done separately. So his question, Jenny, was depreciation on equipment. Do you want to speak to that at all? The total is on our budget, right? But they're done individually.
We have an asset schedule, you know, that lists everything that is depreciated like any business, and then we use IRS guidelines for the depreciation, and that is a line item on the financial statement. Is that what you're curious where that shows up, or?
I'm actually more curious in seeing the individual depreciation of equipment, such as light commission tractors versus HVAC equipment versus buildings.
Right.
Yeah.
We use the IRS guidelines
Yep.
for that.
We have a number of pieces of equipment that fall off every year, you know, so that doesn't mean we're going to replace them that day. If they're still useful, we continue to use them, yeah. But in the case of like the one example I can give you is in the case of the indoor pool building we had, that roof was replaced on that I think about 15, 20 years prior to us taking that thing down. Well, I think the roof, if I remember right, it's like 32 or 33 years you got to depreciate the roof. Well, Lon wouldn't let anybody on that roof for the last 2 years that it stood there. So the roof wasn't depreciated off when we tore it down, so I think we had a recapture on that, which came back to us as a paper cost. On that building. I think total, and that wasn't just the roof, there were some other items that were worked on in that building too that were being depreciated but weren't depreciated off yet. That probably, I think we had a recapture of around $130,000 on that. So, oh, we got one over here. Thanks, Jenny.
What are you going to be doing over the winter months, fixing in the park?
Depends on the budget. If it gets passed the way we're proposing it, we will be moving parking. We'll be redoing the retail center on the inside that didn't get done last year, and moving Park and Garden over there, and then hopefully doing some work on the exterior of that building to give it a little bit of a facelift. Nothing serious, but to juice it up just a little bit and make it look a little more contemporary, or give it a newer, fresh look, let's say. We're going to be redoing CC 12. That whole roof will come off. It used to be a flat roof, is what my understanding is, what Ben said. And they put a roof over it. Subsequent to Ben being here, it's been quite a while, I guess. And so they have a problem with moisture up in that area. There's not enough airflow. So they're going to take that off, put a new roof line on, have a higher ceiling in it, get more circulation in there, and then change the outside or renovate the outside so that you can't get up on the roof through the sides. And then that's two projects that I think of right now that are probably the biggest two for maintenance. And other than that, it will be painting and probably doing some tile work. We have a lot of talented people within the maintenance department, so a lot of those things we don't have to subcontract out, which is really helping us out. So a lot of fresh paint and those kind of things get done in the off season. The road equipment and the tractors, that kind of thing. We have folks that work on those that will be preparing those for the following seasons. That's kind of every season type of thing, or every off season. So plenty to do. It will be good. It'll be good. Good question though. Yes.
I think it was last year we were talking about the dam and the floodgate, and then I've been reading, but I haven't seen anything mentioned. I know there was going to be an inspection.
Yeah.
Where are we at on that floodgate and that?
Okay. We have the gates built. Oh, thank you. They were engineered a little over a year ago, and ordered and built, and they're ready to be installed. And we were hoping that it would get done last year, but it goes back to similar thing that Joel was talking about a while ago. Everybody's really busy, and there's no exception with this contractor. It's extremely busy, so it didn't happen last fall, but I'm told that this year it's back on the docket, and so hopefully we'll get those replaced. We get it inspected. It gets inspected now every 3 years, so I think the next go around is next year or the year after. I'm not saying, it's probably next year. So it'd be great if we had it done, because we've gone through 2 inspections where they've told us, you really need to do something with this. So we hope to get it done. But good question. Yeah, Joel.
I'm going to switch gears. I think this is the second season now with the food trailers over by Phase 4.
Yeah.
How's that working out for the park? And what can we expect for next year?
Yeah. Actually, the guy that the impetus for this is sitting in the back row there. Jess Larson came up with the idea, 2 years ago, wasn't it? Yeah. That we should entertain that. And when you suggest things like that to me in this time of year, I throw it back at you and say, hey, I don't have time to work on it, so will you do it? And he did it. And we had, that first year, 3-4 trucks, and it didn't take too long, and he had responses. And are we doing any good with it? I would say yes. What we do is we give them, if it's a new truck, we give them the first week to come in and try it and see if they like what they see and their experience. Subsequent to that, they need to get a contractor's license, $175, and then Sandy Pines gets 10% of their revenue, not profit, their revenue. That's reported. So last year, if you look at the statement when it comes out, I believe we took in around $2,600, which I thought was pretty good for the first year. What did we supply them with? Nothing. A parking spot. We don't pay taxes on it. We don't have electrical utility costs. We have no labor costs into it. We have no waste management cost into it. So whatever we get is a plus. We have it on the budget this year for around $5,000. I think we're going to be pretty close to the upper end of that. Maybe not quite hit it, but on the upper end of it. So now it's gone from just going out and soliciting people to now they're calling us and they're saying, you got any room in your calendar? Can we come out? Can we come out? Well, every weekend is full this year. We're not going, we went with 2 trucks first. Now we're at 3. And it seems to be working. I've had a few phone calls and emails from a vendor or 2 that, they feel a little pinched, but overall, they're getting along good over there. So we're continuing to try 3 trucks. Next year, I think we'll do 3 trucks again from the experience we've had this year. Weather certainly plays a part in it too, but it seems like the membership really enjoys the variety and the ability to get in there and get something different, and the vendors have been very good. I think within the last month, I've had 3 vendors who currently are not coming that they want to get invited in December, because generally I'll send it out in December. I have been anyway, to send out a new calendar, have them put their names on it. So, how's your experience been with it, Joel? You used it?
Oh, we personally love it because, I mean, there is an abundance of different foods here, you know. I mean, the golden onion's gone. Back when I was a kid, we had the golden onion, we had the pizza ranch here, you know, all kinds of different things. So it's been good for me and my family. We do a lot of lunches there, and we spend the, you know, the whole weekend out here, and even some dinners and stuff like that. Just, I think it's been great, and I just, some of it I don't care for, but you know, that's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
So we don't go to that one, we go
Yeah.
to a different one.
Yeah.
So the barbecue's delicious, by the way.
Good, yeah, yes.
I notice in the the 2017-2018 budget, about $750,000 goes for wages, insurance, and pension payments for administration.
Mhm.
Is that in keeping with the size of this resort?
It is, we did a study on it last year to see where our wages were per position. And we fall right dead in the middle of the lowest and the highest in Allegan County. So yes.
Are there
we're-
several recreation areas like this?
None. There are none like this. So you compare it to position, what that position, what the responsibilities within that position are.
How many paid positions do we have?
25, 26 full-time. Then we have, when it
You-
gets to be this time of year, we have probably about 130.
Okay, so the 25 are year-round?
Yeah. Yep. Yes, sir. Excuse me.
Back to the food trucks.
Yeah.
Do you have the same agreement with Swans?
With Swans, they are a contractor. We don't have a revenue share with them. Good question. That was, I don't know how they started coming in here, to be honest with you. But there's a lot of people that park up their trucks now. So they had one truck coming in, and now there's 2 or 3 coming in. But they're separated. They don't have 3 under one contract. Each one is a contractor. So why we have them be a contractor? Each contractor provides that they provide the park with a copy of their liability insurance, property and liability damage insurance, and they provide a guarantee to the park that they have no workers, no employees that are on the sexual offenders list. So that's really one of the 2 of the biggest items why we have them as a contractor in the park here. So anybody got anything else? Yeah, Sheila.
On the wages, I hear a lot of talk about that the rec staff is not being paid minimum wage and made to pay for their own training and stuff, so it's making it hard to get them to want to come work here at Sandy Pines. Is that something being looked at?
It is, thanks. Again, we're getting into next year's budget a little bit. But did everybody hear Sheila's comment, question? That being that the rec department is not, she heard that they're not being paid minimum wage. First of all, address that. The state does not require Sandy Pines to pay minimum wage. It has never paid minimum wage as a starting wage in the rec department. There are people within the rec department that are making minimum wage. For instance, if you're a certified lifeguard, you make more money. But there again, that was the other part of her question. They have to go get certified on their own. Those 2 things will change in this next budget. We're going to start at minimum wage, which is going to bring everybody up. Because if you've got someone, say, making minimum wage now, where there's others that aren't, if you bring them all up to the same and they have different years of experience, you got to treat them the same, you know, going up. So that latter effect is going to increase the budget for wages in the rec department. But we are, again, another part of it was hard to get people. Evidently it was. We're 9 people short we were last year. Now, part of it is wages, but that's mainly on the higher end. And Austin can attest to this. He's part of the rec department. We were just talking about before you got here. College kids need to make more money, so they're less apt to work at Sandy Pines if we're not going to pay the kind of money that another company might for the work that they do. So we need to address some of that because their schedule is stretched pretty good this year. They're getting by with what they have, but it's an issue that has been increasingly concerning because you have travel sports, which takes kids away from the job market. You have college kids which want to make more money, which takes some of them away from the job market. Generally, if you have kids under 16 years old who can't drive, this is a great place to be because you can ride your bike or your golf cart over to work and make a few bucks in the summertime. And that's kind of the way it's been for the last many decades, I would guess. So we are going to address that. As far as paying or participating in certifications, I just talked with Nikki about that about 2 months ago when we were putting the budget together. It's my opinion that if we're requiring them to be certified, which they don't have to be by the state, but we want them to be, that we should be a participant in the cost of that. But we need, on the other side of it, we need commitments to stay. So we would probably make it a 3-year payback. You know, if they get it, then they would get their money back over 3 years. So, good question. Anybody else? Yeah, because we had. Which insurance are you talking about? Yeah, we had more. Yeah, the insurance costs go up by how many participants we have. We may have participants that are singles go up to doubles or families. We may have some that don't have insurance or didn't choose to take it, that now are on it, or you know. So it is. I don't know if it doubled. Okay, it's possible. I don't have the number in my head, but that varies up and down. But the cost per person, per family, or per double is based on who's asking for, who's getting the insurance. So Ottawa Kent Insurance, and that is through Priority. We get Priority Health for the health insurance there. Yep. You two ought to sit together, but I'm getting my steps in. Yeah, my Fitbit.
Okay, I asked you originally when we got here about the where you privately do the Rangers or whatever. Mm-hmm. If you went with that, would we not have the same ones we have now, or they'd be part of that?
There would be a select group that either may already be here if they've been certified law enforcement in the past. They may be a part of that program, and there are those that are here that are more administrative roles that would be here, but they wouldn't be a part of that program. So, good question. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got a quick question about the kids' pool. I know they have their break time.
Yeah.
But there seems to be still an issue. Is there anything else we've been looking at? What the
We have. We didn't have the break time in the past. This probably you're probably going to cringe at this. We didn't have the break time in the past, so there wasn't as big a problem. Why? because as long as this water's stirred up, you don't see anything. So it's not that it's happening anymore, we're catching it more. So, I told you there was, yeah. So, you want to go swimming this afternoon? Anyway, it has been a challenge this year. I will say that it seems like Vacation Bible School week. I believe the pool was shut down in most cases for 2 hours at a time, 8 to 9 times. And one day it happened 3 times, and then the pool was shut down for overnight. So it just couldn't recapture quickly enough. So that's the case there. So we really were looking for this past week. We met to see once what we could do to help mitigate this problem, and we came up with four different levels of and each one a little more severe than the other in terms of what is going to be done at the pools to try and stop this problem or greatly reduce it. Those will be coming out this week. Josh will be communicating that, and then it will be implemented a week from Monday. So hopefully we'll have some reasonable control over it, but it's been a real challenge. So thank you, though. Yep. While I'm thinking of it, don't forget to sign up for the ice cream certificates. There's 5 of them that are going to be drawn, and the goodies and the certificates are, there's cookies, coffee, water up here. All that's been provided to us today by Whalen Do It Hardware. So if you can do any business with them, I'm sure they would appreciate it. We really appreciate the support that they give to the park. Go ahead.
Okay, I forgot what I was going to ask. Okay, about when the committees get together and they have a agenda, like things that they're working on, where do we find out about those things and what they're discussing at that time, other than having to go to each different meeting that are during the day, during the week usually?
Yeah.
Where do I find that, or is that not put out?
No, I don't think it's put out. I'm not sure whether it is or not, but Kathy in the office, she has a schedule of all of the committee dates. Now they can move around a little bit, so your safest bet is to just shoot Kathy at Sandy. No agenda gets sent out that I'm aware of, not since I've been here anyway. So.
One of the things that, I don't know if it was the last meeting was here, we talked about moving this face-to-face meeting before the board so we could discuss things that the committees were, in process of talking about. So this would be a time. So I didn't know if that meant that stuff, the information was already out there. Should we be aware of topics that they're discussing?
Okay, so what she's asking is I remember this. I don't remember part of what you're saying, but what she's asking is there an agenda that could be made available before the board meeting, right?
Like before we come here to these meetings, we moved this before the board meeting, not until after.
Well, this time we did, but otherwise, only because. I don't remember that discussion. I may have been here, but I don't remember it. Okay, here, you take that.
So if we knew what the committees were discussing, like what is on their agenda, then we could come to these meetings and then have our input brought out, and then the following week it goes to the board.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
I got you. All right. It's worthy of some thought. We do intentionally after that meeting so that these discussions can take place, and that's why we try to have staff and board members here too. So you're suggesting do it before, and
so that we knew the topics that they're working on.
Yeah.
So we could discuss them and get feedback.
Yep.
Are you following one?
Yep, I am. Don, have you heard this conversation about having, or Jenny, about having the face-to-face before the board meetings to discuss what's on the agenda for the board meeting so that they could give input. Yep. As a potential.
If you look at all the agendas, they're pretty much the same unless there's something coming from a committee that has to be approved. So it depends on when the committee finishes their work and then makes a proposal to the board. Generally, at the work session, the agenda for the Friday night meeting is looked at by the board to see if everything that's on the agenda is what will go to the Friday evening meeting. So to put that out a week before, we'd simply have to move everything back a week. So it's going to be very difficult to put everything out beforehand just because it's the time may not allow that to happen.
Yeah, that answer question. Okay. All right. Joel, you got something?
I think what she's referring to is during the Meet the Candidates, a question was asked. I don't know if you remember this, Don. If this meeting, this face-to-face meeting, could happen before the board meeting. I
wasn't there.
To be able for the membership to be able to put input in before a vote was had at that board meeting. Is that accurate? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Just as an example, probably only 24 hours ago, we got something for the agenda, which is coming from the Rules Committee. So it's kind of hard to put that out unless we put it on the, the web page of Sandy Pines. But then once the board has the opportunity to look at it at its study session, it perhaps may go back to the committee because there were questions that were brought up at the study session. So, a lot of things that are probably on the way to the agenda may change by the time we have that work study session. So if we go ahead and put things out on the website or in another method, people will grab hold of that and assume that's what's going to take place. It may not happen. So that's the purpose of the study session, is to make sure that we have all the information we need to make a decision on Friday night.
All right. Thanks, Don. Anything else that you folks have a question on or comment? Yeah, I'm just going to hand you my mic.
I'm going to try to ask this question. We have a 180-day rule swiping our card through the park. Okay, I live close by, and of course I live out here at the park most of that 180-day, but I also come here in the winter time to check on my place because I live close by. I actually went over that 180 days last year. So is there some, if I want to come here and use the exercise machines in the winter time, I'm not going to be able to do that.
You come in, but you don't live here, correct?
Right, of course not.
Right.
In the winter
So
time.
our license with the state is that you can't consider it it can't be considered your residence, which is over 180 days. So as long as you're not staying here, you can come in and use the fitness room all winter long. And
They shut your card off.
if you hit the 180 day, then stop. I would say stop back at their place and tell them what you're coming in for. You should be okay. You got to be able to come in for two reasons. One is to check your site to make sure that that the welfare of your site is in good condition. The second one is if you want to use any of the facilities that are open, you should be able to do that.
Right, because like I said, I'm here in the summertime and spring and fall.
Yeah.
Close to that 180 days.
Yep. No, it's a good question. If it happens again, check with Keith, give him the reasoning. But I'm glad they're watching it. So.
Yeah, I am too. But I just want to know,
Yeah, no, you can come in and you may have to stop at the main gate because you have to go through there anyway to get in. Right. You may say, I'm doing a welfare check on my site or whatever the case may be. I'm coming in to go to the fitness room. You should be able to do that.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thanks. Good questions. Anything else? Thanks, Dee. Yeah, anybody got any news? We got about 35 minutes left here. Let's try and fill it in. All right. You got a what? Oh, okay.
I want to make a comment for whoever was out there on their boats last night. It was really nice, and I'm hoping we get more next year. That was really nice.
It was, yeah, go ahead.
I want to thank the fishing guys that came and did the fishing with the kids. Did it with my grandkids.
Raj, she's right over there. Raise your hand, Raj. The fishing guys.
Well, they did great, and my grandson was super excited. He caught the biggest fish he ever did in his life.
Awesome. I think Raj told me beforehand he had 53 kids this last time. His high for the year was 126, 123. So amazing. Great program, Raj. Thank you. Appreciate it. You want to talk about that? That's great.
Just one thing, it's just not me doing it. There's a lot of help, And also, last year, Walt, over here on 267 or something like that, he's a professional fisherman. And he got involved, and with that, Kevin Van Dam, the world's #1 bass fisherman for 12 years, got involved with donations of like 35 rods and reels to give to kids. And so it's a lot of people, even women, putting worms on. And we have also the best lifeguard in the world, Austin.
Awesome. Yeah, Austin's done a terrific job. Oh, go ahead.
Oh. Well, we do definitely need some improvement of rods and reels.
Okay.
Every time I have to rework a lot of them, sometimes I have to throw them out. People have donated a lot, and you can always give to the rec center, and they get it to funnel to me. If it's used, fine. Especially if it can be put together. Or if you want new ones, the Zebco 202s, that combination, it's a cheap outfit, but the kids like it, and they can catch those big fish like they caught.
Okay.
Oh, one quick one.
Yeah.
A girl, I got to tell you this, a girl down there was 7 years old, never fished. Her grandparents stood there and watched her. They've never fished. And we taught her how to cast, and she was there for 2 hours, never caught a fish. And her grandparents would go down and get him bait because kid still wants to fish. Oh, great, great.
Those are great Sandy Pine stories, I'll tell you that. Can't beat that. That's awesome. Thank you, Raj, and the folks that help you and the folks that support you for that program. It's a great program. I see today we've got Salem Township Fire Department out there entertaining the kids, so I'll tell you, Salem has been just a tremendous supporter of the park in the last 6 years. I don't know what they did before, but they have just been phenomenal in the last 6 years, and I truly appreciate their leadership and their willingness to be involved and be a part of. They truly are concerned, and they take it very seriously, their responsibility to everyone in this park, and it's been a good experience for us.
When the boats were mentioned, it brought to my mind, I cannot believe this year how bad the erosion is in some areas of the lake. Is there any plans to do, is there something that can be done about that? An area that we used to go to, 30 years ago, there was a nice little beach in phase 1. There's nothing left there now, and those trees look like they're going to fall into the lake,
Yep. if you look around the lake, you take a tour around the lake and on the water, you'll see a lot of seawalls. When my family was here, when I was here with my wife and 3 kids from 83 to 93, there was hardly any seawalls. So in that period of time, in that period of time, we've gotten seawalls and additional seawalls, and some of the seawalls that we have are in poor condition. That being said, the seawalls are owner responsibility, member responsibility. That's the way it has been. I don't see it changing. We do have a safety issue. We've got one that we're right across the lake right now, between N17 and N18. There's a tree up there that looks dangerously close to coming down, and if it did, it would be on, and it could cause some serious damage. There's some over here in phase 1, I should say, that are gonna need some attention. It doesn't seem like it was like this even a couple of years ago. Well, it's attributed to speed and making a wake. So how do you stop it? You make it a no wake lake, and I wouldn't want to be here if somebody did that. So there's a speed limit. Yeah, there's a speed limit, but. It's another, yeah. That's 2 issues. One is should we be policing it? Yes, we should be policing it. That's going to require manpower to do that, and commitment of manpower. Right now, with the full-time help that we have, this is going to the board as part of the budget as well. Every week we're short 96 man-hours, so we need to have more people put in position so that we can do things like that more often. But secondly, it's been 47 years of going around in a circle, and where you see the exposure, where you see the erosion, that's where the exposure is to that rippling effect. And quite honestly, if your neighbor puts in a seawall, you might as well get ready to put one in about 2 years from then, because it just it whips around it and just exacerbates the problem. So it is an issue. Yeah, Bob.
I talked to Ben in maintenance about the erosion problem. I think last year, and he's doing a fantastic job. But I believe that he didn't start the pumps to refill the lake this year until a couple of weeks ago. But what was happening in prior years, we were at a high water level. The pumps were going 100 miles an hour. We were pumping water over the spillway. I said to Ben, this doesn't make sense. Let's monitor the level of the lake and put the pumps on accordingly. And once the water level drops down, the shoreline erosion becomes further from the shoreline, and we don't get the erosion. And I think this year was a tremendous effort on his part.
Yeah, we had a lot of water much deeper into the summer than what we typically have. Generally, you all have seen it, where the spillway is over there. By this time of year, it could be down 2.5 to 3 feet. We're not there now, and that's because we had a lot of water early on. Otherwise, well, we can lose a million gallons. It's been estimated 1 million gallons a day by evaporation on a summer day here at Sandy Pines in the lake. We pump about 500 million gallons of water a year out of the ground and out of the river. So we use a lot of water here. Anything else? Hi. Good morning. Sure.
Good morning, everyone. My question is, with the water, there's the smell. It has like a lot of iron in the water. What can we do to, suppress some of that smell? Because, I mean, sometimes it's very foul, and then there are times that it's not so foul, but what can we do about that?
When you were asking, I was looking for Joel, because that's his business, to answer this question for me. There is, each well is different and has a different level of iron in it. And iron is one thing, but the sulfur smell probably is coming out of from your hot water heater. We have to personally, I have to bleach mine. Some people peroxide it about once a month, and to eliminate that. Ben had something in the footprints last month about the relief valve of opening that up. Any of you remember seeing that? Yeah? What was that process? I didn't quite understand it. Do you, Bob?
Yeah, on each water heater, there's a pressure temperature relief valve at the top of the water heater, and he just suggested going outside, open the door for the water heater, and the upper valve has a little clip about an inch long on a valve, and just trip that clip and let the water flow directly out of that valve on a high pressure basis, and that should clean the debris out of the water heater and also recirculate the water and replenish it with fresh water on a high volume basis.
Okay, so is that going to be hot water coming out of that relief valve then? You bet. Okay, yep. So there's a possibility there. Another one, yep.
I don't know much about it. My husband would be able to tell you much more. This is his department. But we have a large water filter, like you can get at Lowe's or something like that. It's probably about this big, and he has that where our water comes in, and it's hooked into the water line, and then it filters the water, and then it goes into the trailer. And I don't know if that's helping any of this, but we don't have the smell or the funny taste. We drink our water, and we don't have a problem. So I'm guessing this filter thing helps a lot. Mm-hmm. We also have it at home, so because we have well water at home, and I think that takes care of a lot of smell and taste.
Okay, thanks, Jenny. Do any of you have water softeners that you've got hooked up? Do you have the same issues with a water softener? No? So that's another option, would be a water softener, and they have those available inside and outside the park, I'm sure. But Park and Garden has them too. So does that answer your question, or try to?
Well, yeah, I mean, it does. This man here is trying to give me some tips.
Okay.
As I said, this man next to me, I'm sorry, what's your name?
I'm Brian.
Brian Baritha is trying to give me some tips as well, but I could try that, and as I said, it's just, we don't drink it because it's just too potent, and you know, the smell. And I think a few years ago, it was quite a few people were getting sick because they were drinking the water that had that has the iron in it, but it does have a very, very foul smell. Mm-hmm. But we will try with your solutions and see what comes out of it. Sure. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Joel is here now. He hadn't heard the question, but this is the guy I was looking for. I was looking around for when you were asking the question. Question was, Joel, and there's been some responses, that she's got a strong smell coming from her water. And what part of the park are you from, ma'am? What phase? Phase 1, okay.
So the smell is actually coming from what they call iron bacteria, right? And this stuff builds up over time. So there's a couple things that you can do to combat this, right? One is to what we call chlorinate the lines, right? Take a little bit of bleach, you put it in a bucket of water, and you pump it into your lines and let it set for a little bit, and it kills all that iron bacteria. Put new filters in, and you're good for a good period of time. The other thing you can do is look at getting a water softener, which will help also combat that odor as well as it filters out the iron bacteria. Water softeners, if for about 5 parts per million of iron or lower, right, it does a pretty good job of taking that iron out. If we're above that, then it will take it out some, but you're still going to have some type of iron smell or something like that, which would, again, you'd need to chlorinate the lines. There is larger, more permanent solutions to it. However, as we all know, everything costs money. And something I did at my house was at a swamp behind my house, right? So I had a lot of iron bacteria, right? I had a lot of iron in it, a lot of things. I put in a hydrogen peroxide system. And what that did is it did two things. One, it was a complete iron curtain, and it took all the iron right out of it. And two, it sanitized the water as well. And made it, 100% safe for drinking as well. They do sell those systems on a smaller scale, but they are rather pricey. I looked at it, put it into my trailer, and it was just, for the amount of time that I spend out here, it just didn't seem worth it. So what I do first, when I open it up in the spring, I pump a bleach solution, a chlorinated solution, into the lines, and I let it sit for about an hour. And then I hook up my lines and I flush the system all out. And then I put in my water filters for particulates. And I use a carbon infused filter, which just costs a couple dollars more. And that helps take out the carbon takes out any bleach or chlorinated solution that may still be in the lines. And two, it helps make it a longer life before I need to chlorinate again. I do every spring, and then it kind of depends on the water that year. Some places do it twice a year. So I've seen some people just put like a little bit of bleach in the line and then push it down, really letting it set in there once a year. You should be good to get through the summer, but you really got to clean the lines out. And all these trailers, everything is PEX, so you really don't need to worry about. And plus, we're diluting it so much. So per 5 gallons of water, you'd put about a half a gallon of bleach in, right? And that gives you a good dilution, right, to where you're not hurting any fixtures, you're not hurting any pipes or water heaters or anything like that. And you just kind of let that sit in there for about an hour, and it just dissolves everything. And then when you turn it on, you'll see it flushing out. It flushes out all of that nasty buildup in there. You may have to clean out your aerators and your faucets and stuff. But yeah, I so far have not had to do it again yet this summer. So. The anode rod out of the water heater, you can replace those. What the anode rod does is it attracts mineral deposits, hard water deposits, and stuff like that, so that doesn't attack your water heater. But it's not really meant to deter any type of smell or odor, right? Because once everything gets coated with that iron, right, there's not much you can do except use the bleach, which kills the iron bacteria, which allows it to be flushed out.
Good. Thank you, Joel. Yeah. George.
I'm not an expert. I'm just experienced. And I have, in the past, run bleach through the system and all of that, because every once in a while the water heater likes to talk to me and I don't like to listen. But I did learn one thing. I have 2 whole house filters on my line outside the house. And I use them as a 2-stage filter. I use the string filter. It goes through the string filter first to take out the bigger stuff. And then it goes through a charcoal filter, the second filter, and that takes out the rest of the stuff. And I have great water inside. I don't like to look at the filters because they are gross. But the water that comes out of the faucet doesn't smell, it doesn't taste bad, and I drink it.
Thanks, George. thank you all that, for your comments to help this young lady out with the issue that many of us have had experience with. I see some folks coming up here for a cookie yet, so, oh, they're gone. All right, well, thank you. We don't need those at the office, but there's coffee up here yet, and there's some water, and don't forget to sign up for the drawing of $5 certificates to the Dairy Dip. So, you guys have been great. There's been a lot of good questions, and you've been a participant in a lot of the answers. So thank you very much for that. We appreciate you coming to these meetings, and this will be the last one for this year, I believe. So we'll try it again next year. If anybody doesn't have anything else, we'll break it up just a little early. But if you have something, feel free to speak up. But thank you again to the staff. Thank you to the board. Thank you to the board candidates for being here.
Too often, it seems to me, we end up with receiving thanks from the people that we ought to be giving it to. And so I want to say, on behalf of what I think is the vast majority of this park, I want to say thanks to all the people who are involved up at the top, the people who make the decisions, who run this thing and have made it the park that it is. This was a great park when we moved in, and it's way better now. And I really appreciate the work that Gene and the people who work directly under him do to see to it that it keeps on getting better. Thanks a ton.
Thank you, George. Appreciate it. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. We do have a lot of great people on staff and on committees and board. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a lot of good people, talented people, to make the park what it is today. Again, before the board candidates leave, I want to say thank you for your willingness to run for the board. We look forward to the results next week, and encourage those of you who aren't running to vote. And thank you for coming. Appreciate it.